Good morning, and welcome to the original Loretta Brown Show, radio to open the heart, heal the soul, and awaken the consciousness. How are you doing this morning, Mr. Ben?
I'm doing pretty good. Let me go and put on the old, where is the button? Oh, there it is. Phew. Almost lost the button for a minute. I was going to start doing this coming into the view because I had to like canoe my way in. Still wet out there.
It is. It certainly is. Yeah. Hang on. I got weird things going on with my computer.
Oh my gosh. Are we having a tech day?
I don't know what's going on. The tech angels need to come in and help us get started here.
I guess it was a coincidence thing too on having tech issues, but like just before our show today and your show, I was on my appointment with my doctor actually virtually. I'd never done that before. And you know me, I'm up early. I'm in the waiting room waiting. 30 minutes go by and I got like 4 links sent to me saying they had issues on their end. I'm like, really? Like the what time? I'm early, but everything's all good. Got checked out and we're banging off into your show.
I love that. Yeah. I love it. I love virtual stuff, by the way. Makes life a lot easier.
It does, doesn't it?
Wow. Yeah. Especially with all those things like, I don't know, it's really hard to get an appointment with the doctor anymore. I've noticed it takes a long time.
Yeah, a little bit. And, in the waiting room and so forth. But my doctor, it was my dermatologist. She obviously her camera comes on. She goes, "Ooh, professional setup." I'm like, well, you're a doctor and you're a professional person. So it's like, that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. Anyway, so I'm going to jump into some astrology, and then I got some great people waiting in the wings to come on in a few minutes. And so this week, December 6th, which I think was yesterday, the planet closest to Earth, Venus, called the Queen of Heaven by the ancients, and the dwarf planet, Haumea, named after the Hawaiian goddess of birth, which is orbiting beyond planet in our solar system's transformational edge, were conjunct in Scorpio for the first time in 285 years. So it's kind of a big thing. Haumea represents divine creation and the incredible and perhaps untapped power that a childbearing or creation-bearing body holds. We can use her energy to create, not with forced effort, but with trust. Haumea is shaped like a pink egg. How interesting. And she has 2 little moons, which sort of reminds me a little bit like
what?
Maybe some sort of anatomy. The birthing channel, right? Yeah, I was being delicate. Yeah.
I thought you were coming up with something there.
Thank you. Anyway, the alignment of these 2 powerful goddesses, Venus and Haumea, symbolize a powerful fusion of feminine energy with themes around fertility, childbirth, the rebirth of heart matters, a deepening in our relationships, an activation of the divine feminine energy, love and creation coming together, and an increased need to create nourishment and comfort. If there's something in your life that needs a rebirth or fresh energy, this energy is here to help us. Within and around you, love and creative capacity are becoming a single transformative force. They're merging. It's happening not on the surface, but in the intense and passionate depths that you can only enter within yourself or within the reality by giving up something that's just kind of taken up space, which is, in my opinion, and in my reality right now, it's everything, giving it all up for something new. To merge the powers of these 2 sky goddesses demands that you go all in because they're not fooling around. Haumea will be in Scorpio for 27 years. And in every single one of those years, Venus, the goddess of love in all its myriad forms, from beauty to artistry to abundance to creativity to sexuality, will come to visit Haumea, that beautiful goddess of birth, and merge into the frequencies that create whatever is needed for life to flourish. The Hawaiian creatrix Haumea, whose frequencies are activated, like I said, by the pink dwarf planet Haumea, knows all about birthing, whatever is needed, over and over again. And so for the next 27 years, she's meeting with Venus every year and Luna every month. And energetically, beginnings are absolutely crucial right now. There's many, many seeds that are going to be planted and brought forward. And what do these two goddesses need from you? They need your heartfelt wish, your dream, your intention, your desire to go to the fathomless bottom of your heart. It's time to wish upon a star in the most loving, creative, powerful, visionary way. And within this strong influence of love and creation for the next 27 years is another powerful feminine cycle. Every 8 years, Venus creates a perfect 5-pointed star or a 5-petaled rose as it orbits around the sun. This is known as the rose of Venus or the star of Venus. And each one of these petals represents a growth point or an evolution point when it comes to love, connection, our values, and our interpretation of beauty. So as she creates the petals, Venus shifts between being a morning star and an evening star. This transition is marked by Venus aligning with the sun and is known as the Venus star point. The formation of each petal marks a period of humanity, of maturity and ascension in our relationships, and once again in matters relating to the heart. The current cycle of Venus began in June of 2020, and petal number 1, the formation of petal number 1, brought us into the lockdowns and the preparation for the growth ahead. The second petal in the rose of Venus began in January 2022 and brought us more intuition around the journey ahead and was activating us to step into the truth, our truth. We'll talk about that. Petal number 3 began this year in August of 2023 and is currently influencing the rise of our consciousness. And it will take until March of 2025 to develop that petal. Petal number 4 will go from March 2025 to August 2027, where things will unravel. And we will be able to see the core lessons unfolding. Expansion will occur. A new way of working with Venus energy, the birthing energies emerges. And petal number 5, the new state of consciousness, will begin in August of 2027, moving forward. This Venus cycle will occur 4 more times during this 27-year period when Venus and Haumea are getting together. And by the time it's over, 5 roses will have been created. With Haumea meeting up with Venus every month, with everything that I've said going on in the sky, with the heart, with love, with creation, we could not be in a more potent time. And so on my show, in that energy, because I'm bringing in 2 goddesses to be with me. So there'll be 3 goddesses. And then Betty's always back there anchoring us in. Thank you, Benny. So today is the first show in a series of 6 with my guests, Cate Montana and Robin Duda. Cate is the author of Cracking the Matrix, 14 Keys to Individual and Global Freedom, where she explores the actual presence of evil on this planet and how to break free from its controlling influence. And Cate lives on Maui. Robin Duda is a minister of soul alchemy and the co-founder and spiritual director of the Sustainable Love Transformation and Training Center in Santa Fe, New Mexico. And today we're going to be talking about moving from concept to reality. Welcome to the show, ladies. Thanks for your patience during that introduction.
Good morning. That was gorgeous with the Venus and the petals and the rose.
Yeah.
Wow.
Absolutely exquisite. Yeah.
Somebody told me really recently that 2027 was kind of the POW year where everything finally comes into an alignment that we would really want aligned.
That was like a mini POW. Can we get a bigger POW? Like pow,
well,
pow!
I could do that, but I don't want to blow your microphones.
No, you can't blow my stuff here. No. You're good.
Yeah, absolutely. I love this idea of love and creation coming together and the blooming of a rose or the developing of something one petal at a time until at the end of it. Because when I was thinking, as you draw those petals, you're like, well, what is that? And then there's another one. You're like, well, what's that? And then by the time it's done, you're like, oh, it's a beautiful rose. I see. Right. Mm-hmm. And then in the way of all that is, you know, I was thinking about the beautiful sand mandalas or that are made, and they make these beautiful pieces of art, and then they're gone. Right. There's that effervescent quality. And now we're going to create again, and we're going to create again. We're going to create again. So like Haumea births from her body again and again and again. Right. So we do it over and over and over. So having said that, it also, in my opinion, kind of segues us straight into our conversation, because, you know, when I was a child, I thought as a child, I acted as a child, I created as a child. I drew little stick figures, right? And that was the level of my awareness. Perhaps that was the level of my reality, my concepts of what to do, right? But then as I've grown, as I've matured, as we grow and mature, then when we go back to create that drawing, perhaps we're doing it in a different way, right? So I'm going to start by just kind of diving in. And you guys can, you know, we're free flow here and there's no script, you know, it's coming from our hearts. But what is the difference between a concept and a reality?
That is such a broad question.
Oh, it's huge.
But
that's exactly what's up in my face, Loretta.
Yeah.
I feel like I've spent 40 years. Well, I have spent 45 years in the spiritual New Age arena, and, you know, focused on love, enlightenment, wisdom, ascension, all of these words. And, you know, and because I was focused on those things, because I read books about those things, because I talked about those things, because I spent thousands of hours on my Zazen pillow meditating on those things and having, you know, love and enlightenment and truth experiences, I thought that was it. I thought that was it. And then I would look at my life and go, well, why is my life still so messed up? And why am I having this issue? And I'm focused on manifesting fabulous wealth and it's not happening. And there must be there must be something missing, you know. And I had that kind of a thought pattern and action going on for decades. And I swear to God, it's only recently, 45 years in, that I'm going, I feel embodied for the first time. Robin, bless her cotton socks, has been an enormous motivator and facilitator, getting me in my body. Because I spent that 45 years on my Zazen pillow trying to get out there to God somewhere, my higher Christ self, and I wasn't fully present. And so I was in the head space all out here in magnificent experiences, but I wasn't grounded. And it's only now that I'm beginning to feel like I've moved out of the ideas of love and truth and wisdom. And I just feel embodied. And there's nothing going on up here, or not much. But I just feel potent. I feel loving. And it's like, and it's so powerful that, you know, part of me is like going, oh, wow. Oh, what's this? Oh, what's this? Mm-hmm. So that's where I'm at with that whole thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Robin, do you have any comment on that?
Yeah. I think this whole topic is really what started my absolute commitment to embodiment, because I too, as Cate describes, we're really focused in the 90s on the ideas of enlightenment, the ideas of healing, and would have these profound experiences, but I couldn't maintain them. I couldn't integrate them. I couldn't, my life wasn't physically working. And then there was the whole push, you know, in the 80s, 90s, and the early 2000s. Well, just visualize, just use your mind correctly, imagine it, really see it happening. And so we went, in my view, from cracking open and our own awareness that we actually do have power, in the mystery schools and in the opening of The Secret and all of these things that were starting to become more public, we went to the mind to try to find our freedom. And because the mind is, what we identify with is the power. And now, as you described, Loretta, and it's probably earth-wide, it's probably cosmic-wide, we have to come back into what actually works in our bodies, in relationship, with nature, because if we're not letting that be our mirror, like our reality testing, we're lost. So in my own experience, I entered my marriage that I have now with this conceptual understanding of divine union. And, I got the Christ download of, if we just loved each other enough, we could do it. But who knew that frequencies of high love between in partnership would take you to the darkest of the dark that you've been hiding from? Who knew? And so, yes, there's people that have written about that. I mean, it's ancient wisdom. But when it comes to the Western thinking, there's this idea that you should never fight. It shouldn't be uncomfortable. We shouldn't have to deal with, difficulties if it's in alignment. And that's absolutely a lie. So what I really got in touch with is there's the concepts or the ideals that we've read about, even from ancient times. And then there's the living of it and the discovery of, how do I love myself, my partner, this situation, and let it burn up where I don't love. And so for me, embodiment, or going from concept to reality, is a transmutation process that's day in, day out. And it's releasing the judgment of who we think we need to be, or an ideal that we're hanging on to of how it should look. And it's dropping deeply into what's happening, which is, very Buddhist in a sense, but there's a emotional component that I feel a lot of the religious masters from the past haven't always guided us in this current time, because I think this is the new birthing, where the systems of the past are being rebirthed from an alchemical process of our bodies knowing, from the feminine earth to what does it take to build loving relationships? Because the feminine is usually the one that guides relationship in a family. Okay, Dad, I love that you're out there working, and I love that you're committed. And yet, you're missing the boat here. The child needs a diaper change. It's like this, just get real with what is and where we're gapped between what we think is happening and what's actually happening. And we are being asked, in my view, Loretta, which is astrology is so perfect. And Cate, what you shared, I love it. I feel we are being asked to get so real with what is actually nourishing our systems and this planet, and move out of even the concept of global warming, the concept of enlightenment, the concept of how to love each other. It's not an easy task. It is an embodied willingness to feel everything and to meet it with love and compassion. And when you're angry and fierce, there it is. When your body is saying, this doesn't feel right, there it is. Love is asking for truth, moment to moment to moment.
Whatever it is, even if it ain't pretty.
Even if it ain't pretty, because man, there's a lot of not pretty out there. And we have to be willing to find our right action in it.
There's a lot in what you're saying. When people are at, I'm going to say, the beginning of this sort of a journey, like I always look at people as, it's an oversimplified version of they're in a box. They're in a box that they were put into, or they went into, in order to feel safe, to look safe, to fit in. Ancient societies, if you were thrown out of the tribe, you no longer had protection or food or anything, right? So you had to figure out how to, quote unquote, fit in. And in order to fit in, what do? You have to deny the self. You have to avoid unpleasantries. Like, we're not going to do that. But you're also pointing toward beliefs, the mind, right? The reality that we create, is it a reality, right? That we create based upon our information that we have taken in. And I think a lot of our conditioning and programming has been to steer us away from our bodies, our connection to the earth, our natural impulses, even to the point of, forgive me on the radio if I am edging into femininity or feminine body concepts, right? That I cannot have a cycle as a woman because that interferes with my ability to work. And I have to show up at work and I have to be strong. And I don't want to take time out to go and meditate or introspect or incubate or do whatever it is that cycle is asking us to do, right? So there's a complete disconnect.
Right.
And there's a lot we could say here. I mean, technology has come into our world, and I love technology, but I also look at it out of the corner of my eye, going, how much screen time do you actually need? And can you carry on a conversation, right? Can you go and walk on the earth? So there's a lot in this. These ideas of love, right? Trust, spirit, embodiment. We have gone through a great period of time where it's very fluffy.
Yeah.
I'm love, light, butterfly, butterfly, butterfly. Don't talk to me about anything uncomfortable. I will ghost you and avoid you and run away. And there's something in what you said, because I learned this a long time ago from one of my great teachers. And he said, Loretta, you have a lot of light. And I'm like, I do? Okay, I have a lot of light. And he said, but one thing you need to know, as light as your light is as dark as your darkness is. And you have to go through the darkness to get to the light. And all of my journey has been based upon this concept that in order to fully embody the self, you do have to go to those dark recesses and take a look at them. The disowned parts of us create havoc. They just simply do. So we are on the leading edge. I can feel it. We're on a precipice. And the old world is right behind us. And there's many, many right there with us. I can sense it in the listeners. And as this show goes out, it will reach more listeners who, in my opinion, this is what they want to hear. This is where they're at. And I'm just going to say this for whatever it's worth. You just have to take one tiny little leap into the light, into the love, because you are so supported. You are so loved. You are not alone, right? Yeah.
And one of the things that is really trippy and that has tripped me up is that so much of my spirituality was based in Eastern methodologies, which was highly ascetic. The guy in the loincloth meditating in the cave focused on enlightenment, and to the complete abdication of the body, the complete nullification of any emotion, isolation. And I followed that path assiduously and had astounding and yes, enlightenment for days, but I couldn't hold it. And it wasn't, I finally realized that, it took me 14 years to integrate that enlightenment experience, but I had not awakened in my body, in my full essence. I hadn't integrated. I wasn't whole. And so one of the things that I've had to let go of is the old ideas of that's the only way to God.
Right.
That abdication of the body, that asceticism, that harshness. These are new times, and everything grows and changes. And now we're being asked to be whole. I mean, one of the strangest things I ever ran across, Ken Wilber talked about different levels of enlightenment. And I was like, wait a minute, different levels of enlightenment? I thought enlightenment was enlightenment. And like, now years later, I'm going, no, it's like that rose. This is another petal. Yeah. Here's another petal. Yeah. It's unfolding in all these different ways. And to go with that. And then when my body says, no, don't sit on that pillow until your hips hurt, go for a walk. embrace nature, or sit under that tree over there, rest your head against the tree trunk. Is that whatever? My body and my feelings are prompting me to take certain actions, and which is completely opposed to the old spiritual paradigm. And so I'm like, oh, okay. And this is, well, maybe not completely opposed, but
that's what I actually wanted to talk about for a quick moment.
Okay. Yeah, please. So, I mean, it's like, well, I'm so excited because I'm in my body now, and I can be a whole human being. I can be a woman. Whatever that means. I don't even know what that really means.
What I wanted to connect what Loretta said and what you just said for a quick hot flash here.
You're having a hot flash? But
I'm actually crying. My tears are just dropping because Loretta, you and I've taken a journey to Egypt, and did we have to look at that other side to all of us. But what I'm really wanting to connect, Cate, what you're saying is so many of us in this petal creation or in this evolutionary experience of insight, we go, wow, I believe that. And now look at this. That's wrong. Yeah. And so what we end up doing in our evolution, and young people do this all the time, is in order to move out of a state of illusion where you really believe something conceptually, and then life showed you something else that you're not embodied in, and then you blame the concept, or you blame the teacher, or you blame the system. And what I feel that we have to be willing to do, and well, we're being invited to this. Have to, that's another agenda. Yeah. But what would it be like? I wonder if we could pull all that we've learned from, not being able to embody something, or following a teacher like you did, Cate, that where your hips hurt on the pillow, and go, wow, what did I gain from all that? Now, what's the medicine of that? Now, how can I embody my own inner truth as the guide for my actions? And it's not somewhere higher. I'm actually bringing the highest frequencies of all of my wisdom into the moment. Because the guidance that's in the moment, that's totally connected to nature, is going to let us know, oh, we're going to go to that grocery store instead of that one. Oh, we are not going to go to that ceremony. We're going to go over here. If you're in the moment with your highest frequencies of love, and Loretta, you and I have talked about this a lot, you are going to be guided into your nourishment and safety if you're committed to self-love. But if you're in a sacrifice matrix from the past, if you're in a martyrdom matrix, if you think you can save the world because you got the light, any kind of idea of spirituality will take you out of the presence of every single moment that's asking something new of us, that is loving for us and loving for self innately, energetically opens to universal love. And most of us were taught that love of self is narcissism and sacrificing in service is God. Mm-hmm. So then we divide the body's needs with service to the one. And there we are in duality. And yet we are being asked to unify self and other. Well, if you're putting self before other all the time, that's narcissism. If you're putting other before self all the time, you're in martyrdom, you're in trouble. So this huge opportunity, the very feminine, is to feel that oneness. Oh my gosh, this person in front of me is in agony and suffering. Where's that in me? Do I have compassion for that in me? Now, what do I need when I'm in suffering? Oh, I need a reminder that I can love that into healing, not rescue myself out of it. Mm-hmm.
Right.
So this new capacity, or actually this, what you're speaking into all of us, is how do we embody oneness that isn't a concept, but a day in, day out movement of love that we are choosing and relating from. And when you can't love, when you feel your judgment, that's part of your conversation too. Mm-hmm. Wow, I'm really having trouble, Cate, feeling love for you right now. And that's not about you. And it hurts my heart, but I'm just going to breathe through this. Wow, that's what transparency. That's love to me, is to share the truth, the microscopic truth in relationship and not run away from it.
Well, the truth is within. Yes. It's not out there. I read something, or, I heard somebody say, or somebody told me, This truth is within. This is authenticity. I feel this.
Yeah.
I sense this. I know this. Somehow I know this. And then communicate it. And this grounding, what Jesus always said, the kingdom of heaven is within you. It's not out there someplace. And so finally, this last territory, unexplored territory of within, and letting my within guide me, and trust that. Because again, that's one of the last things we've been taught, is to trust self. And that's the primary. That's the only real place to guide us, is within.
And
so
go, Loretta, because I want to talk about how we've been tricked inside to not know our truth. But go, Loretta.
Right. So I believe we were born with an internal guidance system. It was put into us, and it is a divine connector. It is the divine within us, and it is infallible. Everything that we've come in contact with has turned us away from trusting the internal guidance system, that divine system. And we were trained to be victims. We were trained to give our power away. And it's almost like it has permeated us. So I'm sensitive to the fact that we have gone, the three of us and many listeners have gone on a journey to the point where we actually are getting the idea of what we're talking about here. There are babies in the woods who are listening to this, who are like, well, but my feeling, like this could be a big conversation. What's the difference between that guidance system and, well, I feel hurt and I feel sad and I feel like I don't want to go do that. And I feel like I have to go do that. Like there's a whole forest here to wade through. But I'm also thinking about how timely our conversation is, because this is the time of, up here in the Northwest, the days are getting shorter and the night is taking over. It's time of introspection. And I always think of the story of Persephone or Demeter, those girls who had to go through the underworld, and they have to go through 7 gates. And at every gate, as they are going deeper, so they're going through what I call the revealing, they have to pay a toll at each gate, and they don't have money. So they have to remove clothing until they end up down in the middle of wherever the heck it is, Hades, naked. And it is not nakedness. It is honesty. It is revealing. It's like all of these confines are removed, all of these concepts. And then when they come out of there, and this is the journey we're on, they put the articles of clothing back on, and they gain more than what they lost. So there's this whole journey that, in my opinion, we are on. And that guidance system within us, that divine spark, that desire, that thing that pulls us, is guiding us, always guiding us. And if we can remove the conditioning, the programming, the blocking, everything that's thrown in front of us, the confusion, the lies, what is the truth? We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. Really? Well, okay, fine. Where's that? Right. And so from concept to reality, I was thinking about the word wisdom. I know I'm all over the place here, but when I tap into the reality of these things, it's like a permeability, like water that comes out of my cells, like it oozes out of me. The wisdom comes from me. The love is spontaneous. It occurs. It's an emanation of the essence of my reality, of who I really am. Right? It's not like I have to do this thing. It's spontaneous. It just occurs. When I'm in my, consulting room, whatever you want to call it, and my clients are there with me, whether it's on Zoom or in person, I've always said to people, they're like, what happens? I go, I have no idea. All of a sudden, this thing starts coming out of me, and it's just so loving, and it's so compassionate. There's no judgment. It is that which we are seeking. And that, to me, is the way that we're naturally created to be with each other. So
that principle of knowing that, Loretta, I mean, we're all, senior members of womanhood, more or less, we're out of our mateship, right? The capacity to feel that And to know that that's our innate nature is because when we felt that anger, or I'm really sad, and go away, you've triggered me. Like when we've gone through those levels of questioning, oh, if I'm this sad because that person said, where did that start? We've gone into the exploration of what Cate's book was about. Is this conditioning? Is this my trauma? Is this actually me? Or is this a reaction to a wound? And I've got some other energy in here keeping me in fragmentation. So because we've done our deep work, and we're going to keep going, I mean, I don't see any one of us here ever stopping, because the exploration of self continues to unveil more love. But there's the first layer of reaction. The first response isn't always our real truth.
True.
And your book really lays it out there, Cate, because it says, hey, what if who we think we are isn't who we are? And Loretta just said it. What if we're beings of pure love, and this other stuff that we think we are, violent, criminals, guilty, shameful, sex is bad, all these other concepts that allow us to hate ourselves, what if that's the interference? What if that's the lie? And really what we're here to do is burn that up and return to what is true, which is we are beings of love and compassion.
Yeah.
And so that is not an easy journey. It's not a fluffy one. And it's a physiological, biological burning up of the ancestors, the imprint from childhood. It's the burning of, like you say, multidimensional reality from all the other lifetimes we've ever existed as teachers, healers, and whatnot. Our multidimensional nature has been conditioned to follow rules or concepts.
Yep.
It's the burning up of cultural mind.
Yep.
And then technology now is like who we're being told we are.
Well, we're inundated with too much information.
Yeah.
And people's opinions and ideas. I mean, we're of an age, the three of us, we are the goddesses, that's how that works. But, I remember when I was a kid and I had like 3 books, I had the Bible, a book on plutonium, and a book called 50 Famous Fairy Tales. They were my 3 books. I would carry the book of plutonium around with me like it was going to explode. Now, what little kid reads a book on plutonium? Never mind. That's a different show. But, there wasn't all this information, and I would spend hours outside.
Yeah.
Hours with the stars, with the wind, with the earth, with the trees, right?
Yeah.
And yeah.
Anyway, nature was my salvation growing up in a dysfunctional, alcoholic family, abusive family. Yeah. I was raised on a farm, thank God. And so I would go to the woods, I would go to my horses, I would go wade in the stream. That made sense. It wasn't verbal, but it comforted me on inside and out. And it was a reality that I could lean into and trust. And I'm so grateful that you said what you said, Robin, because, and I know we've talked about this before, is that innate nature, which we are pure beings of love. We are the life force, this power beyond comprehension. We are that. But then there are these, what is the unholy trinity of, we have past life, what we think is past life. I don't even know if I believe in past lives anymore, of like, am I just picking quantum information when I come into this body and think that's a past life? Whatever. We have that. We've got our DNA, epigenetic, family pattern programming. We've got external programming driven by interdimensional forces. So there's this 3-pronged attack that manifests itself through socio-political, economic, sexual, gender, religious, spirituality, philosophy, science, all of those 3 things, those 3 major attack prongs, penetrating us, programming us, taking us away from our natural innate knowing and our beautiful, quiet, explosive being.
Well, when we can talk about it, it helps the mind say, oh, let's be curious about that, versus like any time that I try to tell somebody what I see, it doesn't work well. Anytime I open the field of curiosity, like a book can do that for you, Cate, as a writer, and Loretta, you guide people so much longer than I have. But the place of curiosity where the mind can consider that it doesn't know and it doesn't know, but it's here to learn. And being able to speak this out loud, Cate, how do we get conditioned and what are we navigating through? Mm-hmm. And these are the elements we can point to, and there may be more. And the unholy trinity for me are the roles we play through that conditioning. So we're programmed to play a victim, we're programmed to play a rescuer, and we're programmed to play a perpetrator.
Yeah.
And those stay in place if we run self-hatred, and we run, I'm not good enough, and we run, I've got to earn love. And if we run the whole conditioning program that religion usually pumps into us, is that you are not a divine being of love and you're not infinite. So I think you're talking about the ways of conditioning through the fields
that keeps us in concept, that keeps us in concept, that keeps us in those idea bubbles rather than embodied and feeling what we feel and just allowing that to flow.
Well, you know, the Cartman triangle, the dreaded drama triangle with victim, rescuer, perpetrator, is a disempowerment triangle that is based upon being reactive. Anger really drives it, as opposed to being responsive, responsible. And a lot of what we're talking about here is taking radical responsibility for the self. And I call it stalking, STALK. Like the Toltec said, you should stalk yourself constantly. You should be observing the self. And I was laughing. Somebody sent me a meme yesterday, and it's got somebody. It's a little people watching a movie, and then it's got someone standing at the window looking through the window, watching them watch the movie, and then it's got somebody across the street watching the person watching the people watching the movie. And it is that thing of who is watching the one watching you. Who is that one? And so when we go into radical responsibility, we do begin to back up a little bit and go, wait a minute. The first reaction I had was like a mule kick in the stall. Rah! No, I reject that categorically. No, absolutely not. You're wrong and blah. You know, I'm a victim, blah, blah, blah. But as you say, Robin, when we begin to, and I say to my clients, open your mind with wonder. Open the mind with wonder and let go of trying to figure it out, right? You know, because the minute we disengage that, then we enter into our creative flow, our natural state of being. And I just think we need to be more creative. Of course, I'm a musician, right? Music saved my life. But man, take time off. Quit your job. No, don't listen to me.
Well, if that's what you really, really, really are prompted on a absolute level to do, and being inauthentic is staying in that job when everything in you is crying out from a cellular level onwards to quit that job, then yeah. But
And I think the key there, Cate, is to be able to feel the difference, as we're all talking, between the impulse to abandon responsibility for taking care of yourself, which we often have as children. I'm going to quit that job because I can't hold my own self-love in it.
Right.
And then if you're eliminating all resources because you can't hold your self-love, then you're not going to be able to engage with the world. And so you're going to be getting and quitting jobs left, right, and center. But if you're in a toxic environment that doesn't empower you in your self-love, you need to leave that job and say, I am willing to be in an environment that empowers my authenticity and my true gifts. So all those impulses, we have to ask those questions and wonder. Because if we're not asking those questions, we could be jerked around by our shadow side, thinking we're listening to our guidance. And meanwhile, you know, we're scattering ourselves into the next medicine journey, looking for God to tell us what to do.
Yeah.
And our life is falling apart.
Yeah.
Yes.
We are here, as Loretta says, radical self-responsibility now. And we started a podcast, Cate, Radical Real, because we feel all of us are we've got to get real here to make a difference in our lives that change the planetary culture where we are disconnected from each other, and we all want peace. We don't want to see this planned war that's being pumped. None of us. I mean, we didn't feel anyone we met, Loretta, in Egypt on either side of the river wanted war.
No.
All of the people were like so loving.
Yeah.
That
and I want to share this one little piece from the journey. When we were standing on the Jordan side of the Jordan River, and we had just been to the place where John the Baptist baptized Jesus, and the energy of that place was filled with so much love and beauty. I can't even, like, it affected everybody, and the group got kind of quiet, and we were standing there, and I put my feet on my hand in the Jordan River, and I just lifted the water, and I had this massive epiphany of the memory of water, the power of water, and Jesus wanted the water over his whole body. The memory of that is in the water. It's all around the world. The love is spread everywhere. And I just want to share that because it came through to me so powerfully. And the opening of the heart was like those roses just, right? So there's like probably a whole workshop on that I'll put together, but this is who we are.
Right.
This is who we are.
And
we're meant. Yeah.
And our bodies are primarily water.
Yes.
So, and what are they trying to control in these wars? Water. What's been poisoned on our planet, and what is the most concern we all have is water.
Yes.
And so we have a right as stewards of this earth to claim back the sacredness of water and clean our bodies and clean this earth, but not through controlling everyone's freedom.
No.
But by inviting the innate intelligence of how the earth wants to cleanse its water and what's poisoning our waters. And I love this too, because Oracle Girl has done a lot of immersions and communications around the absolute memory of water. And so did the movie Frozen. I just saw it with my daughter because we were needing to be in silly mode. They talk about the memory of water in the second Frozen. So, these big corporations know what these ancient truths are, and we get excited about that little truth, and then they kind of take us on a different side path. But yeah, there's some real truth being pumped out into media, but we have to feel that truth from within.
Yeah.
Discernment.
Thank you for sharing that Egypt moment, that Jordan moment. Sorry.
Yeah.
Profound for me too, Loretta.
It's all the same. Yeah.
I don't know the name of the woman, but there was a podcast done about a month ago. An Israeli woman's 17-year-old son was shot in the head, in Gaza, and she came on in the midst of her weeping, going, I will not use my son's death as an excuse for violence. I will not participate and perpetuate. It stops with me.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I watched that podcast and I was just like, just losing it. But it was just like that. It stops with me.
And that takes deep personal responsibility to feel the depth of your rage and hurt and not channel it into the monster of revenge. That takes powerful self-responsibility. That's what we're talking about, Cate. That's what we're talking about, Loretta. I will not participate in these twisted shadow forces to justify separation, no matter what I feel. That's courage.
Well, and what you said earlier, because to me, this is the work. When you are feeling angry toward someone, it's a time to look inside. Where is that within me? Right? What is it that needs to be healed here, or addressed, or held, or understood, or integrated, or something, right? And as we do that work, I always say, can you allow yourself to be who you're meant to be, which is a powerful statement. It's in the deepest parts of alchemy. But when you're able to do that, when you get to that point where you're embodied, your essence is coming out of you now, you're connected with that, you become much more able, willing, forgiving, loving toward everyone else, to allow them to also access that deep essence of self, that love. And I keep thinking of the verse in the Bible, they will I think it's, they will beat their weapons into plowshares, right? In other words, no more fighting, no more war. The feminine does not want war. I cannot think of Venus and Haumea getting together and going, all right, goddess of love and goddess of birth, let's go fight.
Yeah.
It's like, no.
And
Let's nourish, let's hold, let's call the children, let's empower them, let's remove this illusion, this veil of darkness off of them.
Right? And yet that woman stood up in fierceness, of grief and love and passion and a fierceness for truth. And by God, the fierceness that it would take to stand for love in that level of pain. So it's, again, that whole going back to the concept of what love is. Well,
it's not butterflies and fairies. It's strength, and it is knowingness. And when you stand in that knowingness, and I know you guys have experienced this, I know you ladies have, I know the listeners have, when you stand in the knowingness of truth, you're immovable. You're not afraid. You're not scattered. You're just there. You're there, right?
And it's an emanation.
Yeah.
It's nothing up here in your head. It's an emanation from within. This is how it is. This is life. This is love.
And I will not tolerate harm on my planet. There is nothing that justifies intentional harm when you're in the feminine goddess loving life itself. And even animals kill to eat. There is a path in nature where things die and get reborn. But the intention for revenge and killing for revenge, that's
harm. It's not about harm.
It's that's the twisted light. That's the twisted religions. That's the twisted places of justifying annihilating a whole group of people based on the Crusades or whatever ideals we've got. And that is what we have to burn up inside of our own bodies. We're doing that.
And I think, Robin, you brought us full circle back into, as I was saying in the introduction, Haumea is the goddess of birth, and she births again and again and again. The cycle goes around and around and around. And that's where we're at. We are taking that and putting it and coming back out at a higher level, a more aware level. And I hope that the fragrance of our loving, creative, strong roses can emanate out into the planet. We are down to the last minute. So could each of you just very quickly where to find you, and one last quick comment. I know.
Cate, C-A-T-E, Montana at Cate, Cate at catemontana.com. Also Substack, cmontana.substack.com. This is just where it's at. This is the conversation. This is what's up. This is what needs to be revealed, discussed, felt, and embraced and moved with across the board.
Right with you there, Cate. We can't do this alone. I encourage people to have pods, have support groups, have 2 to 3 to 4 people that are your cheerleaders. To reach me, to join a pod, or to play into your own self-discovery, Robin at sustainablelove.com. And my website is sustainablelove.com. And we're practicing in community all of these choices and philosophy or embodiment. And it's an ongoing discovery of how it works. So I'm so grateful that we had this time together. This is very moving for me.
Yeah. And I'm Loretta Brown. I'm the owner of Reiki Oasis. You can find me at ReikiOasis.com. I forgot to mention, I do have my end of the year despacho. You will want to sign up for it. I do it every year, and it is saying goodbye to the old and welcome to the new. It'll be a powerful one. And my Temple of the Divine Feminine will be December 23rd. And we're also doing solstice ceremony. So please connect with me, ReikiOasis.com and the schedule.ReikiOasis.com. And to my guests, Cate and Robin, I love you so much. Thank you for being a part of this lovely journey. And Benny Mathers, you're the best.
Thank you.
All right.
He's the best.
Thank you.
Thank you, girls. Thank you so much. That was very moving.